Hello, everybody. It's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies. Well, today it's not movie day. It's review the final episode of the 10th season of American Horror Story Day. And the final episode was called The Future Perfect,
Oh, that's what it's called?
which is really weird and I don't get it.
It should have been called the finale perfect dot 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 not.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna come right out and say it, and then Marco can keep going. My overall view of this season and episode is if you're going to write a decent season of American Horror Story, make more episodes. Otherwise, it will look and feel choppy, incomplete, and lost in Death Valley like one of those tumbleweeds blowing around on the floor of the Death Valley desert. Would it have been so hard to tie in this season to season 2? Also, a place where and time where aliens were kidnapping people? Wouldn't it have been more interesting to tie in the first part of this double feature to the second part, which is this season? Just how difficult and complicated would these tie-togethers have been? Go ahead, Marco.
Okay. Are you ready, Safi?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This finale was even worse than we could have ever expected. It was really bad. And it was probably, I would say oh god, this is tough. It is not worse than Winter Kills, the vampire finale, because it didn't have any political agendas in it. Well, did it?
It was just a mess. Very light and just inexplicable and
I don't know. It's like, what would I rather watch again? Neither of these I would rather watch again. But I guess maybe this one, because of Richard Nixon, is probably the only good thing about it. But let's be honest, Safi. This finale was literally the worst that it could have been. Like, forget about all the different suggestions that we made about how, like, oh, maybe you should have had it where that guy from season 2 was the leader of the aliens. Forget about that, because that would have been too good and people would have liked that too much. And forget about, like, the hybrid actually helping the people to break out of Area 51. And so maybe the hybrids actually turns out to be like a good guy, and he turns out to actually like betray all the aliens because he prefers the people or something like that. Like, oh, let's just forget about that because we had to do this. We had to do this episode. Like, this episode was complete trash. For starters, the number one red flag was that it was 45 minutes long. And, as we said before, this season should not have been 4 episodes long. That is way too short. You can't tell a story within 4 episodes at all. A proper story, that is, an actual story. And so we already knew that this finale was going to be garbage in that sense. But sorry, everyone, that's an unexpected alien in this horizon.
he's white and furry and has a pointed nose.
But it just felt so rushed. But not only that, it felt like they didn't even put any effort into this finale.
No.
It felt like, once again, like they gave up. And that's what it feels like every single season. Like season 1, at the end, there's all these unanswered questions. There's all these plots that they just don't even answer, and they just give up. Season 2, they had it where they just gave up. and they just told all these shitty resolutions and flashback, and they just give up. And then the vampire story in season 10, they just gave up, and they just completely shit the bed. And then the second half, what did they do? Once again, they gave up. And it's like, these writers need to, they need to learn how to write before they write.
Regrooving.
Yeah, and it's really bad because this was written by like 4 people. Like, seriously? 4 people thought of this? Ugh. Oh, God. 4 people, Safi? Not just one person, not just one idiot, 4 idiots. I mean, 4 idiots is way worse than 1 idiot. So that's really bad. But it's just, it's so frustrating. Like, that's why we're not really that angry, is because we just look at this and go like, ugh. Like, this is exactly what we expected, unfortunately, after this whole season, after me really actually watching this show for the first time and seeing that these writers have big problems with their writing, and especially with the endings, and with rushing things, and with leaving things unresolved. They like to do that. They've done that every single time now. So it's like, is that going to be what it's like every single time? Is there not any good finale in this show? Like, it's fucking ridiculous. So, the episode starts off with the black and white stuff. Another red flag was that the black and white stuff was only 20 minutes instead of 30 minutes.
Oh.
So the black and white stuff was shorter than the modern stuff. That's already... That's a big no-no. Because what do we say about the modern? It's trash. No one cares about it. It was a trash story. It was rushed. The characters were trash. The story was trash. Everything was trash. It's not even Death Valley. I mean, why was this called Death Valley? I mean, they called the first half Red Tide because they have multiple moments where there's a bloody red tide that washes up on shore. They even have it in the fucking intro. But in Death Valley, they only showed like Death Valley like one time in the first episode, where the 4 annoying brats are having a little gay romp. So, it's kind of sad that it wasn't a gay romp anymore too, because I was kind of thinking it would be like a huge like joke, but this finale just pissed me off, because we started off with basically yet again another checklist episode. Remember last episode in the black and white portion, it felt like a checklist of historical events. Okay, we talked about that, we talked about that, we talked about that. And it really was like a checklist. Like a shitty Hollywood biopic movie where they just have to check all the boxes. This person was born. This person picked their nose. This person cheated on their first test. This person, that's what it felt like. And that's what it felt like in this episode too. And the only reason why it's slightly better than last episode is because of Richard Nixon being prominently in the story. I mean, it's really a lot more about him because Eisenhower dies. And we have what basically is almost like a ripoff of Part 1's finale, where you have a family, which is the Eisenhower family.
Yeah.
And you have me. You have Mamie, and she turns evil and betrays her family, Dwight Eisenhower. And so that's exactly what happened in the first half, where you had the little girl, Alma, and she became evil. She betrayed her family. She let her dad die. Sorry, we just heard a siren. I was like, what was that? But that's literally exactly what happens in this episode, is that Mamie betrays her husband, and she just lets him die, and she just stands over him like she's going to be evil now. And then, of course, Valiant Thor, you could say that he's like the Ursula character. And so it's literally the same thing, Safi. It's literally the same fucking thing. Like, why did they do that? That's so bad. That's just, did they just not care? Were they just writing with their eyes closed? Were they like too busy watching like better stuff? Like, well, there's not really anything recent to talk about that's better than this or good at all. I mean, Chucky would have counted, but Chucky wasn't on when they were writing the show. So, that whole historical part was trash. I hated it. I thought that it was just a joke, another joke. And, another thing was the fact that they really did as much as they could to damage the name of Mamie Eisenhower. They really made her look like a piece of shit. And, it was fine to do that in the first half because Alma is not a real girl. She's a real actress, but she's not a real, like, girl. Like, that's not her in real life. So they're not damaging anyone there. But in this season, it really felt like they went from Mamie as, like, this kind of, like, funny, like, inspiring figure to Mamie as this really evil biatch. And she's basically...
And she's not like that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
and she's like a whore. She has sex with Valiant Thor, and she's a traitor. Like she's really evil in this show, and much more evil than like even Nixon, probably. So I would say that was bad too. Making her deep throat was like cringeworthy.
Because it never happened.
Safi, everyone knows that.
I don't know if everybody knows it. You'd be surprised what people don't know, but it just made it part of making the whole thing laughable.
People have pointed out other things too, like they said that Henry Kissinger. It was anti-Semitic to make Henry Kissinger a reptilian.
No,
and it's like, nah, that has nothing to do with this.
He didn't even look or act like Henry Kissinger. Yeah, Come on.
I didn't even know he was Henry Kissinger until Safi told me.
Well, it's because I heard him say Henry, and Henry Kissinger was around in the final days of the presidents of Nixon's presidency.
Yeah, Henry Kissinger is a piece of shit.
Well,
he's an evil piece of shit, and who cares if they made him a reptilian? He's an evil piece of shit who, fuck Henry Kissinger.
No, I don't agree with that, but he wasn't compared to the guy who played Nixon.
But
he
number
didn't
two,
look or act like him.
Number two, this is literally a parody. They make all the characters not themselves. The reason why Mamie is bad is because we all know that Mamie is a good person in real life. And so it's almost like they don't even know who she is in real life.
I know, and that's sickening.
Because they're almost like making her this fantasy character.
And why couldn't they have looked her up? And I'm going to look her up because I want to know this thing about the parties.
About the fudge?
And the fudge. I want to know if that's true, and I haven't gotten a chance to.
You don't talk about fudge! Do you like Mamie's fudge, Safi? Would you like to have some of her fudge?
I don't know if it would agree with me, but not because it's Mamie's, but because no fudge will agree.
What about Crybaby? Do you think Crybaby would make you some fudge and say, I'm really sorry that you didn't like American Horror Story.
Well, she was actually
Here's some fudge.
a part producer in the I guess the season
What do you think Crybaby's fudge would taste like?
I don't know. Let's not do that, okay? All I know is I would like to read more about Mamie Eisenhower. I don't think I was too young to know much about her, but I never heard a bad word against her ever. She was
well. The thing is
not
that
one
bad
word.
Someone else pointed this out too. That if they had done what they did to Mamie to Jackie Kennedy, people would have been in an uproar. And so I think that they should have the same sort of energy towards Mamie, because I really liked Crybaby's performance in the show.
She did an excellent job.
I thought that we'll talk about season 10 in a separate review, but if you want to talk about one of the highlights of this season, it was honestly Crybaby, because she gave two drastically different performances and two drastically different characters she played, and so that was really good. But the fact that they wrote so terribly. But what do you think her fudge would taste like,
I
Safi?
don't know. I'll talk about that.
Do you think that she'd start crying and she'd go like, and all of her tears would go inside the fudge, and it would be like fudge that tastes like tears, and it would be like salty and gross because of her tears are in it? You think it would be some sort of like vegan fudge, like some sort
she's a
of
vegan.
Hollywood vegan fudge? What kind of fudge would Sarah Paulson make, Safi?
Chocolate fudge.
What kind of fudge, though? Like
chocolate fudge.
Would it have any nuts in it?
Maybe. Okay, well, let's continue on. I'll say about...
Are you sure you're going to be able to say anything, Safi, or are you just going to go in the corner and die of coughing?
The first part, well, I thought... I just laughed. Almost during the whole episode. I was around when Nixon was in his final days of his presidency, and I just thought by the writers tying our involvement in Vietnam, all of Nixon's scandals, to an alien incursion contract forged by Eisenhower as a means of distracting people was hilarious. And the guy who played him did an excellent job. He really studied his facial movements, etc., to play this character. That's for Nixon. The guy who played Nixon, sorry. I found their names and I'll say them later. He really studied his facial movements, and his research really paid off. And I thought the guy who played Eisenhower and the one who played Mamie, of course, Sarah Paulson, they all did an excellent job. She was also funny with her continual harping on parties. And then I'll let Marco continue with the second part now. I guess if we're done with the first part.
No, I'm not done.
Okay, well, I'm not. I don't know what else to say. I just laughed through the whole thing.
Let's take a look back, Safi.
And then I'll just, especially when Mamie Eisenhower said, "I'm deep throat," I almost coughed the whole way. I mean, I just about had
you're already coughing now.
Because no, she wasn't. And so for them to say that, and it just made it even more laughable. I mean, were they trying to make it funny, like a comedy? Like, really? We were in Vietnam because we were trying to please the aliens. I mean, I think they picked out every little conspiracy
honestly,
known to mankind.
Safi, honestly.
And even some made-up ones for the show.
Safi, honestly, being in Vietnam for the aliens is a better excuse than the actual reason that we were there. So I'll say that.
Well, whatever.
Because there was no reason to be there at all.
I agree, but it's just the whole thing and all his scandals with the money laundering and breaking into the Democratic headquarters.
It's just so unfortunate that these actors were wasted on this trash comedy parody. I mean, is that what you want? This is American Horror Story, not American laugh out loud bullshit story. So, but let's zoom out of the picture, Safi. Let's zoom out of this black and white story. Overall, this story for 4 episodes, let's see, how long was it? 60? And then, so kind of like 2 hours almost. So basically like a movie. This entire 4-episode arc, black and white arc, has been, we need to make a deal with the aliens so that they'll give us some technology. And the deal is going to be shitty for us. It's like, no shit. You're making a deal with aliens, dipshits. You don't even know these people. You're stupid. You're some stupid ass presidents, and these presidents are a lot better than they make them look in this show. You know, Eisenhower, he's one of the best presidents, and he's not like on this show. And Nixon, you know, he's trash, but he's a lot better than how he's portrayed on the show in terms of like his character choices. But you know, if you look at that arc, that's trash. Like that's been the whole story. Like that's this whole story is just about this stupid deal. Like really? Like
And
that's
it is,
it?
really.
That's it?
That's what it is.
That's all that we got when we have a story about aliens? Like, ugh.
Well, the part of the deal for the aliens was that they were getting a chance to make a hybrid of why they decided that humans would be the best. Humans and their kind, because their kind was dying out, I guess. And so that was the other part of it. And of course, we'll talk about that in a minute. But anyway, it's just it wasn't. I don't know. You know, on something like that, are they trying to be serious, or were they trying to make it a joke?
It was all a joke, and that's the problem. Since it was all a joke, then none of it was something that we can even take seriously, like
Well, you
in
can't
terms
take
of
you can't take it seriously as horror.
yeah.
I mean, when you're watching, let's say, Scream, for example, or The Exorcist, you're not sitting there laughing and.
Safi, I wouldn't use Scream as an example.
Well, I mean, it's just it doesn't make sense. I don't get what the motive is. I don't get what what they're trying to. What kind of feeling are they trying to impart?
They're trying to waste our time.
Sorry.
And it's wasting time for you to be doing that on camera too.
Can't help it.
So this black and white story, it started off promising, you know, as we said before. We gave like the first two parts A's. But honestly, going back, I would like bring those grades down to like C's or D's, because where it ended up going was nowhere. This was so pointless, it's not even funny. And we haven't even gotten to the second part yet. So let's get to the second part. The modern part. The part where we talked about this is a gay romp. We have these four unlikable characters who no one likes, including themselves. I mean, I guarantee you the actors themselves, hopefully, if you ask them, do you like this character that you're playing on the show? Hopefully they'd say no. So that's how bad these characters are. But all four of the characters die pretty much like that. Like,
Yeah.
and it's very reminiscent of that vampire finale, where they just throw everything out the window in 2 seconds. And then that hybrid that the two guys had, that thing just dies in 2 seconds. And then what happens after that? Mamie is still alive, and I will admit it was cool to see Mamie and Valiant Thor in color. Like, it was cool how they turned to color in the second half. I thought that was kind of cool, actually, and I would have liked to have seen more of that.
And she's wearing that bright red dress too.
Pink dress, Safi. Pink. 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 Pink.
It wasn't pink.
Yeah, it was pink.
That was
they
reddish.
They made a big deal about how she brought back the color pink. She made the color pink popular.
I
So,
guess.
Mamie's still alive, and she finds out that the real plan, is for the aliens to kill all the humans. And then she tries to form a rebellion with that boring, annoying Calico character, aka Ursula, part 2. And they're gonna kill the hybrids, and then they're gonna kill Vanilla Twist with a little ball on her head, but then they fail because the alien doctor, they genuinely thought that this alien doctor was going to change sides after doing non-stop experimentation for like 60 years. Like, that's how stupid these characters are, including Mamie. And so then Mamie dies, and Ursula is allowed to, I don't know, raise the babies, even though she can't breastfeed. She doesn't have any milk to give them, so how is she going to raise them at all? And it gives some alien juice. Gonna squirt some alien juice out of underneath one of their fingernails or something.
That's what I mean. I don't think they considered the human body or human functions. A woman who is actually going through a pregnancy. I don't think they've even thought about that stuff, and it just kills me. I mean, it's really basic, and just like what you just said, where are they going to get the milk? Are they going to make fake milk?
That's not good.
I mean, really? Are they going to make it out of peas? And they make fake milk out of vegetables now for vegans. Is that what they're going to do?
They could go to Crybaby and she'll cry tears of milk for them.
Or they're going to make them out of bugs. Those bugs that they put in the Jell-O that they were eating.
Oh, Safi.
I mean, I really, what is the matter with these people? The writers.
Writers,
really?
Yeah.
Really?
They really don't care. And so this is what happens when you have writers that don't care. Well, we do care. So we're going to tear you apart and rip you a new one.
Well,
if you know what I mean.
I just thought, what happened was that, that one girl who was saying terrible pornographic crap, she started giving birth, and so, of course, they delivered the baby, and it wasn't the one they wanted, so who's left?
Yeah,
the popsicle girl.
And the black one, whatever her name is.
And they killed her. They killed her.
They could have just kept her alive and taken her breast milk.
Yeah, she could have been a, what do you call it? They call it a wet nurse. That's what they call it.
Safi.
No, that's what they're called. They did this in the olden days, and they still have that. The mother dies or something, and they need somebody to give milk to the baby. They call them a wet nurse. But they didn't. They killed her. And then, so the other girl giving birth at the same time, and I guess they sped it up somehow. With their magical...
Yeah, they have birth at the same time.
With their magical powers.
It's like their wombs are in alignment.
So you have Popsicle Girl.
They're connected via Wi-Fi.
She gives birth, and it's the right one. Oh my God! It's a successful hybrid alien birth.
No right hybrid is going to come out of the vanilla twist.
But guess
what? That's for damn sure.
But guess what? She can't be the one who takes care of the baby, not the way she is now. So what do? This is so novel. They cut off her head, and they put in a metal ball with wires and cords attached, and it goes into the body, and so she can function. And so that's her now, a Popsicle Girl who was a model
She's
in real life.
Twist, Safi.
I don't even know what you were talking about. She's now a metal ball head, and guess what else they do? Because for the rest of just the final bits of the episode, because she was successful and the only one they've had is successful to give birth to a perfect alien hybrid. I guess a baby that ain't gonna attack anybody and splat on their face like the movie Alien and cut off their breathing and kill them.
I was so disappointed when that hybrid that the two guys birthed. I was so disappointed that thing didn't help them escape and it didn't kill everyone. That would have been so cool.
Well, it did kill the police people that came in to investigate what happened.
Yeah,
in there.
One of them.
But then they killed him. That scene was weird. But so guess what else they do? They make it to where she can get multiple births over and over and over again, like she's a machine. Well, that's dumb. Okay. She's still basically a human being. Human beings can't do that.
No, Safi, it's a very special.
No.
It's a message about technology.
No.
And about how technology is technology.
No. No.
I mean, that's this whole episode. It's just preaching this generic message about technology and machines, and like, we traded our entire race for machines.
So she's basically a human being. And I'm not talking, what I mean is, it takes 9 months to make a baby inside of you. They were going to speed up the process and make it take less time so they could just churn out babies from her like she's a machine. She is not a machine. She's still a human being. And
there's a little dial on her nipple, and so if they give her a titty twister, it'll speed up the birthing process.
Marco.
They'll go like chit, and it'll go like.
That in itself was just ridiculous and asinine.
These
and
hybrid babies, they'll just start squirting out like.
Yeah, I know.
Start hitting the walls.
Like it's like that Lucy and Ethel episode with the candy factory, and the candy pieces start rolling out on a conveyor belt really fast. It speeds up.
It's like a baseball machine.
Really.
Like a batting cage where you have the baseballs, they just fly at you, and you just gotta go bam, bam. Just gotta watch for those babies and hit them against the wall.
And then you have Calico,
the most trash, annoying
after
character.
After they kill Mamie off because she was going to be a bad girl and disrupt the process, and she tried to fool them. So Calico was kind of like, I guess they were going to tolerate her to help raise the babies, which is ridiculous. I mean, she's standing next to the popsicle girl, and but she's not popsicle girl anymore. She's metalhead with her legs apart, spewing out baby after baby. Come on. I mean, that's what I mean. How can you take anything like that seriously?
And it's funny because Calico was like a part of their little rebellion, as the doctor called them. But Calico changed her mind like in 2 seconds over and over again.
She knew she's going to get killed, and she didn't want to get killed.
No, she genuinely changed her mind and said that, no, humans bad. I agree with the aliens now. She's like, humans bad. Maybe the aliens had a point because technology is technology. Like, with their stupid messaging that they're trying to do. Like, who cares? Like, this is just such a waste of time and energy and effort. Even these reviews. Like, just look at all these past reviews of us thinking that stuff was going to go somewhere. Like, there's no connection to Season 2, which is just fucking ridiculous. Like, Season 2 happened, like, how many years ago? And they had the aliens.
10.
Yeah, almost 10. And they had aliens in that. And so a person of normal IQ, you know, like a normal person would think that so now we're going to have an alien season. There must be some sort of connection to Season 2.
We could make one.
Yeah, easily, like in 2 seconds.
Easily. They could have done all that and then you know what the problem is? They didn't have enough episodes to do something like that.
Oops. We don't want to overstay our welcome.
Yeah.
Well,
really.
You've already overstayed it because you're trash writers.
Yeah, it's really disappointing. I mean, there are so many writers out there who would love a chance to write and do things like this. I mean, come on. But then they let them do it and they just screw it up. And just that, that is a cardinal rule. Whenever you write a fictional anything, a science fiction, you have to have an element of truth in the story for it to work, or else it looks laughable. And you can't take it seriously, and it won't do what you want it to do, or make the kind of impact you want it to make. So, and you're in this thing with a metalhead with their legs apart, spewing out babies, and then Calico standing there like she's, I don't know even what.
What it reminded me of Rosemary's Baby, where at the end.
Oh yeah, where they're all like smiling, like, isn't that nice? Your baby is so cute. It probably has horns and what do you call those feet with that look like pig's feet? I can't think what it's called. And what they talk about in books about what devil babies would look like.
That's the origin story of the writers for this show.
Yeah, really. So, the woman who plays Calico, by the way, her name is Leslie Grossman.
Oh!
I just wanted to...
Very fitting.
I just wanted to say that. The person who played Eisenhower, who I thought did a really good job.
He did a good job. It's too bad they wasted this fucking character so he could die.
That's Neil McDonough. And the guy who played the alien, I call him the alien go-to guy, broker and Mamie's sex machine.
Safi, he's called Valiant Thor. He's a real person.
It's just such
Safi.
a weird name. His name is Cody Fern, and he is an Australian actor and director. And then
he's Australian.
And then the guy who plays Eisenhower, I have to mention him. His name is Craig.
We talked about Eisenhower.
Well, his name, Nixon.
Nixon, Safi.
His name is Craig Sheffer.
Well, I'm glad that you got this trivia out of the way.
Well, I just wanted to give them a shout out. I thought their performances were really good.
What are we going to play? Trivial Pursuit?
It's a shame that they were wasted in trash.
Yeah, more like Trash Pursuit. So... I mean, just the fact that they killed off those four main characters, obviously, I was looking forward to seeing them get killed in violent ways. But if you look at it from a writing standpoint, just how trash that is, that they, and take a shot every time I say trash in this review, too. It's just because I'm not that angry, so I don't use other words. If I was angrier, I would be saying a lot worse things. But if you look at it from a writing standpoint, they built this story around those four characters. And then they just die in this last episode. They just all die. Like, that's not a resolution. Like, what about their families? And what about their friends? What about that guy who she had sex with from the class that he was telling her about technology? Whatever happened to his character? Why didn't he get involved in the story? Oh, wait, it's only 4 episodes. That's why. Just all these questions that are never going to get answered because you guys, or not you guys like in general, but like you writers who wrote this show, you every single season, it's like you just choose what you want to resolve and what you don't. And that's not how good storytelling works. That's why Twin Peaks: The Return is not that good. If you look at it from like a logical, objective standpoint. Because when they made Twin Peaks: The Return, they literally didn't resolve a single issue in the entire show. They literally just had all these storylines that never got resolved. And that's not good storytelling. And we don't like that. And I'm sure there's so many other people, they don't like it either. This episode, it's tied with The Winner Kills for the least rated episode in American Horror Story history. That's how bad it is, Safi. Because it's not even a real finale. This wasn't a finale. Did this feel like a finale to you?
No, because of the unresolved issues.
The whole episode's an unresolved issue.
Yeah.
It was like they looked at this and said, let's just do what we want and end it. Bye-bye!
Okay, well, can I add this because it's my last big gripe?
Yeah.
I'll just say right now, I gave the episode a D, and I would have given it an F if it weren't for those actors I mentioned, and, of course, Sarah Paulson and her portrayal of Mamie Eisenhower.
Crybaby.
But the thing is...
That's her name, Safi.
I think the writers really need regrooving, and you need to make more episodes. I realize that you're constrained, but you could have done a few things with those limited episodes, too.
And you could have just made the episodes longer. Like, you could have made them movie length.
Instead of whatever you said, 20 minutes and 40 minutes or whatever. I just couldn't believe it. And finally, no more gay and straight pornographic dialogue on TV. I don't ever want to hear that again. I almost threw up and my ears almost fell off.
Well, speaking of pornography... there's that one storyline with the black girl about how she can't get with
That's
guys.
the straight
Because
thing. I don't want
because
to
of
know. Don't mention it. Don't
because
talk about it.
because of
Don't do it.
because of
No, please don't do that. It
because of
adds nothing
venomous
to the story. Nothing.
because of venomous stuff. It touches
That's what
her
I'm
skin
talking about.
and gets acidic like.
If I had been the parents of any of those 4 people, the boys and the 2 girls, Popsicle Girl and her friend, if I would have been the parents and say, oh, my daughter or my son's on American Horror Story tonight, it's a new, they're in the new part of a season that it's a dual season where they have 2 different stories going. They've already done one and they're in this one, and let's have a watch party. And they have all their friends and relatives there, and they hear their son or their daughter saying this pornographic crap spewing out of their mouths like puke. I would have been mortified. And you know that, I mean, they're young people. They might have, I don't know if they would have warned their parents, don't put that on, don't let my grandma see that, because they're all pretty young. And I can't even imagine being their parents or any of their relatives or friends as
Safi,
listening to that crap.
just imagine if we saw them at a future convention. Just imagine just walking by them and you're like, oh yeah, that's the guy that talked about Giardia.
Oh.
Just imagine shaking his hand, and it's like, I hope he washed his hands.
Marco, don't do that. Or how about we get a few people who have done research abroad and gotten Giardia because the food's filthy, not properly washed that they buy at the market, which we've known people, like I said, when you do research in a 3rd or 4th world country, you either have it yourself or you come upon somebody who's had Giardia, and it is really no fun. Constant puking and diarrhea, and that's just, and it lasts for days, and it is totally miserable.
As I was talking about though, Safi, the black girl and the venomous stuff.
Okay, please don't. What are you going to talk about?
Well, that never paid off. It
That's
never
what
paid
I'm saying.
off. It never paid off.
Why do that?
It never paid off.
Okay, big deal. That's what I just said.
That's a plot point. That's a Chekhov's gun.
I said all of that stuff, that dialogue for both the boys and the girls did nothing.
It never paid off.
For the story. It added nothing. It did nothing.
Never paid off.
And it was so, I don't know how long that part took, that bit, whatever they want to call it. They could have used that 10 minutes to do a tie-in with season 2 or whatever else things that they could have done.
Tying it into the last part of the season, the vampire story.
Yeah, the vampire story. Instead of that BS.
But, another thing about the
nasty, pornographic shit
about the venomous stuff is just about that scene is that you remember they introduced all the characters with these character cards where they said like this character's dreams are to take over the world domination. And it's like that never paid off. And so, like, there's all these things that just never paid off because these writers don't know how to write. And, honestly, I came up with an easy way that you could have tied this in with season 2. Other people were talking about how this was going to be a chapter that Harry from part 1, it was going to be a story that he was writing. Yeah. Well, you know what you could have done? And it would have been fitting, too, because it would have foreshadowed how his family betrayed him, too. Right. His bitch daughter Alma, who would like to punch out and kill a vampire biatch and Ursula. Like, they're just the worst characters. F those characters. F all these characters. But you could have literally had the actor who plays Harry. You could have had him film himself. You could have had him set up his iPhone, put it in self-record mode in his study, his office. He could have made like a fake little 10-minute office set, and he could have sat there at his computer, pretended to type, or on his phone even. He's like pretending to type out the story, and then he's like, ugh, this story's trash. And then he just deletes it all and walks away. It would have literally taken 20 seconds. And you guys couldn't even spare 20 seconds to connect this to the first half of the season. He could have done it himself. You didn't even have to pay him any extra to do that. He could have done it for free. It would have taken 2 seconds. So, Safi, do you have anything else to say about Crybaby, Vanilla Twist, Season 10, American Horror Story?
No, it's just
Glee,
that if it weren't for the
Gaze.
acting skills of those actors I mentioned, I would have given the episode an F.
Well, I give the episode an F-, just like the other finale.
I gave it a D, and that's it. I don't want to say anything else because I've already said what I'm going to say.
I'm not cutting it any slack because of a couple of, like, there's always like a nice thing in a bad whatever. Like, you can't cut this episode. This episode was supposed to be the season finale. And remember all those people who said, you guys are complaining too much. Just wait. We're not done with the season yet. There's 4 episodes left. We're not on the season finale yet. Well, we're on the season finale now.
And, yeah. Okay, well, there's nothing else to say.
Yeah, there is.
But I hope that the rest of you, if you have any comments about what we said, if you agree, or if you have ideas of your own, how it could have been made better. Did you like this last episode? Did you, if any of you are familiar with the last days of the Nixon administration, and Mamie going out there saying she was deep throat, which is hogwash. It was a CIA agent, or I don't know, maybe it was an FBI. I thought it was a CIA agent, but I could be wrong. But he was identified. He kept a secret to his grave. I don't know, his son revealed it, or I can't remember what happened. But,
another
he's
thing.
Dead now. He passed away.
Well, another thing is the fact that Valiant Thor, he moved. I think they said that in real life he disappeared and moved to this lake area, and so you could have had that be a part of the story. And then he also wrote a ton of books. Like, he wrote all these weird books. They're all on Amazon. You can buy them from the real Valiant Thor. But they didn't include any of that in this season. So they just picked and chose what they wanted to do and not do.
Well, they didn't do very good in choosing.
But, honestly, who even cares about season 11? Do you even care anymore, Safi?
Yeah, I do, because they could make up for their bad writing.
The only way they can make up is all the characters on the show have to make us some fudge. And it all has to be different flavors. There has to be a Crybaby flavor.
Well, I couldn't eat any of it, so
Vanilla
it wouldn't
Twist
do me any
flavor.
Good. I just want to see a better show.
I want some fudge. So
I'm busy,
and
a lot of people are busy, and there is a lot of competition of things to watch, and maybe it's good and maybe it's not, but there is competition out there, and there's sports too.
You're just copying what I said in the Chucky review.
And there's sports too.
You're just copying.
There's football and there's hockey.
There's fudge making on YouTube. You can watch fudge recipe videos.
I watch mainly YouTube. And so I'm busy, and it takes my valuable time to watch these episodes. I expect them to do a better job than this. And I know for a fact there are better writers out there that don't have any name recognition. They would never even get this opportunity to write, and they could do a better job. And when I see who got the opportunity and what they did with it and how they trashed it, it really irritates me. I get mad. I mean, I've interviewed writers. I've interviewed all kinds of people. They have to do other jobs in order to do those fun jobs that they like being an opera singer or being a writer or being a painter or a potter or an actor. I have interviewed because I used to write for the paper and a newspaper, and I was part of a writing group, and we covered all those different aspects. And they would love there are other talented people. They'd love to have this opportunity, and to see these people wasted on crap when they just got lazy, or I don't know what the problem was.
Just Safi, how about season 11 is about the evil fudge factory? You could have like Willy Wonka's fudge factory,
Okay.
and it's run by Crybaby, and she makes evil fudge monsters. They
Okay.
come out of the, and it's like an allegory for gays or something.
All right.
So that would satisfy you.
Okay, well, please press the like button.
Subscribe,
and
comment,
subscribe.
like it,
We
subscribe,
appreciate
and comment
all new
too.
subscribers.
All
We
the
appreciate your
subscribers.
comments, because if you have even better ideas, because I'm sure there's people out there who have thought of all kinds of things they could have done with the episode. Probably could be a lot better than anything that we came up with. But let's hear your ideas, because I know there's a lot of talented people out there. They don't ever get to show anybody how talented they are in the idea. And you ever go to a Facebook group called Halloween DIY, and you see what people come up with all year long just for Halloween because they love it so much. There's people out there with better ideas who could have done a better job writing this season.
Well,
Okay?
we could have literally rewritten the whole episode in this review, and that's literally all we could have done, and it still would have been better than what we got, and we don't even get paid to do it. So,
Well-
that's how bad this was that people got paid to write this, and they got paid to write. No one would ever accept this as a proper finale. No one would ever accept this as a proper conclusion to this story. I mean, there was no conclusions to the story besides trash.
Okay, well,
Goodbye, everybody!
bye.